Welcome to Trinity Radio. I'm Braxton Hunter, and over there is
Jonathan Pritchett.
And we are excited to be back on another Friday live stream. And today we're going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff and taking your questions in just a few moments. So you'll want to make sure to stay with us. But also, if you don't know about this, if you're a patron, there's going to be an after show. There is almost every week. And all you have to do is become a patron at patreon.com/Trinity Radio. It's linked in the description. And then about 10 or 15 minutes after this is over, you can go be a part of a further stream and even jump on with us if you want to.
Yes, and I want to thank Christoph for coming through. That's clinch, man, or clutch, or whatever you say, for the thumbs down for me. The pre-show thumbs down. We don't want you to even talk thumbs down. I love it. It gets me excited because I was just talking to Braxton how I had almost no excitement for today, not because of the topic, but because I feel like, but those kinds of thumbs down, that's my motivation. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, somebody's got your back. So some of you may be familiar with Suris the Skeptic. Suris has got a fairly large platform. He's responded to stuff I've done. I've responded to stuff he's done. And again, just want to be clear, none of this is personal. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being, all things considered, from a human perspective. And we're all sinners, but I'm sure he's a wonderful human being from a human perspective. But he said some things here that I think deserve a response. So I've brought Pritchett along for this. Someone asked me, did I draw the characters that were on the thumbnail? Well, I drew the one of me on a free phone app while watching TV on my phone with just my finger. I saw that I was making a response video to Paul Ogia, and he has that Paul Ogia character, so I drew one of my
So what
own.
you're saying is I wasn't on the cover for 2 weeks in a row because you decided to take a break in having high production values.
It's actually
that's what I heard.
Higher production value. It's original artwork. You think the production value just gets better with your image? Is that what it is?
Well, that's one of it, but the fact that it's all original artwork.
Mm-hmm.
You're not selling your talent there, buddy. Just kidding.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty proud of that, Braxton.
You are. I think because you're so in love with yourself that you do a good job physically representing what you look like in a cartoon because you stare in the mirror all day long.
Okay, well, so with that, let's jump on to the next issue, which is we're going to start listening to this. Now, there's more to this video than what we're playing. He goes on and continues to respond to the individual to whom he's responding.
Cover Girl Pritchett is right.
I just wanted to jump on a couple
Pretty
of.
princess, right?
I just wanted to jump on and respond to a couple of these things that he says about stuff that comes up a lot. Oh, we got Mariah Lynn here with waiting on the Trinity Radio catnip for the soul.
There you go.
But right now, let's jump to Suris the Skeptic. Now, just so you know, the graphic here isn't that great. The reason he does a good job with what he does, but the character that he chose, you go watch the original video and you'll see why I edited it down like it does. If you think I'm a prude for that, well, deal with it. This is a family program here at Trinity Radio most of the time. But here is Suris the Skeptic. He's going to respond to what this guy says.
Well, let's get started.
Sure.
So, do you believe in the scientific impossibility that everything came out of nothing? Now, I've heard some...
Wait, okay, so we have a couple of problems here. One, the scientific impossibility. Can you define nothing? Have you ever observed nothing? Do you know the properties of nothing? If not, then the best thing we can do is just say, oh, then we don't know. Now, as for models of a universe from nothing, I do know there's an entire book from Lawrence Krauss you could read on that particular subject that deals with quantum physics and how you can actually get a potential universe from nothing. But when it comes to the problem of nothing, the biggest issue we have is that we can't define it. You can try your best to define it by its lack of traits, but by adding traits to it, it's no longer nothing. You are describing something. We don't have a concept of nothing. What nothing can and can't do, we don't know. So the honest answer is, we don't know. Now, what we also know, though, is that matter, or at least energy, can't be created or destroyed. As far as we know, that was eternal. So the idea that we exist from nothing doesn't seem to work within our current idea of how physics works anyway. It's more like we exist because, well, energy is eternal, and we happen to be a current manifestation of energy condensed into matter as we are right now. But, you know, that's a very, very layman understanding of that.
Okay,
Amen.
who says that Christian apologists are the best at gish galloping word salad? Because that's what I heard. Is that what you heard?
I don't make those kind of comments, but I leave them to you.
Okay.
You've done your job.
Yeah.
But can we? The biggest problem is we can't define nothing. Okay, now there's a ramp up to a very obvious point. Well, I'll just say it. First of all, nothing is easy to define. Not anything. That's nothing. And go ahead and explain how you just noticed that he refuted himself.
Not anything is not adding a property, because nothing is not a property we're adding back that makes it something, which is what he said.
He says that. He's like, if you add anything to it, any properties, it's not nothing anymore.
He's thinking that no thing is a property of something.
Right.
And then he says we can't define it, but Lawrence Krauss has, a book on 5 different ways to say of what nothing is, after saying we don't really know what it is, but here's 5 guesses, but it's always things. That is either intentional word salad, or it is, okay, I'll be nice this time.
Okay.
Unintentional, ill-informed word salad.
Yeah, I mean, and think about this, really. He says, we don't know what nothing is. We can't define nothing. And then he says, if you add anything to it, it's not nothing.
Yeah.
How do you know it's not nothing if you don't know what nothing is? If you don't know what nothing is, you act like you do know what nothing is when you say if you assign anything to it, it's not nothing anymore. Yeah. And by the way, that explanation that you've just given is not Lawrence Krauss's understanding of nothing.
That's 2 guns shooting both feet.
Yeah, Lawrence Krauss thinks of nothing as a roiling sea of fluctuating energy. That's not nothing. That's energy, that's space, that's time, that's all those things. When we say nothing, it's very, very, very simple. In a little while, he's going to say that he thinks that we make too much out of consciousness. You're making too much out of nothing. It's literally much ado about nothing.
If you make anything out of nothing, you've completely missed the point of what
if you make anything out of nothing, I don't have nothing.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm not laughing at you, Suris. This is a common thing that comes up.
But I kind of am. And I'm sorry. It's either that's some serious word salad. That's some serious confusion going on right there.
Properties of nothing. Nothing is a lack of property. In fact, every apologist I know that talks about this says, here's what nothing is. Nothing is no powers, no properties, no potentialities, right?
Yeah.
No parts, we're alliterating this. I mean, it's nothing. This is why William Lane Craig, in response to Lawrence Krauss, on stage with Lawrence Krauss, says you're talking about nothing as though it's a thing, like nothing stopped the German advance. Thank God the nothing was there to stop the German advance. No, nothing is not anything, right? So that's a pretty important thing to point out right here, right from the start. And it's not that difficult. Not anything. All right.
And because that's what it
isn't.
Is right.
Because
that's why it's not observable, because there's nothing to be observed.
Right. It's like you're saying, show me some stuff, call it nothing, so I can see the nothing that you're talking about.
Right.
It's like, what? Okay, here's the part where magic comes up.
Let's go ahead and continue the video.
Atheists say no. Some atheists say yes. And if you said no, you don't believe that, then that's good. You're close to being agnostic.
What? I don't think you know what that word means. I'm just going to continue the video.
That's good. Because how could anything come out of nothing? That makes no sense. That's magic.
Okay. I really don't want to talk about the irony of defining something as magic while also being a theist. This is not me trying to insult people who are theists. That's not what I'm trying to do. My point is, when you try to disparage something as magic, but also hold a belief system that necessitates a magic system, I just... It feels weird to me.
And I don't do magic.
You do. You're a Christian. You do. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You actually do magic. You think you don't, but the best descriptor for what your God does is, in fact, magic. So,
I do miracles.
that is just magic without spell slots.
All right.
So first of all, in this bit, there's something I want to point out here, Pritchett. Number one is that when we're looking at this, when we're talking about agnosticism, he says he doesn't think the gentleman understands what agnosticism is. Now, I'm not saying I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what his qualifications are. I don't know how well read he is. I'm not backing up like everything he says in this video, but he is trying to make a very relevant point, which is if someone is willing to grant that it moves the ball forward in the conversation. If you're saying, no, the universe can't have come from nothing, it leaves open the possibility that a cause from outside the universe, and that could be God. So you're on the road toward maybe agnosticism. Maybe we're moving further. I think that's the point he was trying to make. It's not a weird point. I think he understands what the word agnostic means. It means I don't know the answer to this question. I have no knowledge about this without knowledge. So, but I want to say something, because last year when I made the 20 questions for atheists, Jonathan, Suris responded, and he made a pretty nice response video. But when the question came up about what has come to be known because of Cameron as the hunter's dilemma of why do you, I'm going to save some of the questions. You can ask questions. I can save them for later, and I'm going to do that, honestly, atheist. But when the hunter's dilemma is the notion that if you're saying you're a lack theist, that you don't actively believe there is no God, global atheism, whatever you want to say. If you're saying I'm not that, I'm just a lack theist, I just lack a belief in God. Well, then here's the situation you have. If you're going to use language like, well, you just do magic, which we know you actively disbelieve in, to refer to what God does, you've got a problem here, because you are speaking as you're talking about God in line with things that you actively disbelieve in, but then you're saying about God, no, I just lack a belief. Now, Suris responded to that in the original video, and what he said was what lots of atheists said, which best I understood him, basically, no, I'm a lack theist about the potentiality that some God exists out there, but the Christian God or some specific God, maybe I actively disbelieve in that. But you'll understand in this video, he contradicts what he said, because even though he may know this guy is a Christian, he says he talks about theism because he's a theist. He believes in magic. That's the first thing. That's a contradiction to what Suris said last year. It's a contradiction of theists. So here's the deal. If you want to compare God to things that you want to talk about God in terms of things that you actively don't believe in, then and you're still going to claim to be a lack theist, we can't sit at the grown-ups table and have a real conversation about this. But if, on the other hand, you do want to just go ahead and say, nope, no God exists, it's all like magic. Okay, fair enough. Say it's like magic, because now you're consistent. You're saying, I actively disbelieve in magic, and I actively disbelieve in this God. Unless, of course, you want to say that you don't actively disbelieve in magic, in which case I think you're just being disingenuous. Not you, Suris, but any particular person that is functioning as though they're an atheist naturalist and then says maybe magic exists or something.
Well, then that would include him.
Right.
Not him,
That's
not
true.
you, but
That's
it
true.
would include you.
Okay.
It's okay to be, I mean, okay, so the guy that he's responding to, when William Lane Craig started, it's like magic, right? I mean, we've all heard that follows Craig anyway. And so people repeat it. They're doing it for the same reason that William Lane Craig do. It is a hyperbolic way to be snarky.
Yeah.
Towards atheists. And so that's why, which I don't know why he prefaced his, I'm not trying to be offensive, and then goes on to try to, make the person.
Right.
Don't even preface that. Just, the guy was doing that, so do it back. And so here I am, I'm doing it to you. That's how this works. We got to get views. But what I actually, if by magic we mean hocus pocus, okay, I believe in magic. That doesn't mean that I attribute what I consider to be magic as what the divine acts of God are, because I make a distinction.
Before I respond to that, thank you, Channel Angel Jim Amberg.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Thank you for that substantial super chat. He said, I took out my white Trinity Radio sweatshirt recently, only to remember that as a father of young kids and a bit messy myself, I can't own white clothing. time for a darker option and athletic clothing if that's possible. If that's not already on the Trinity Radio's Teespring store, we will make something up for you and put it there. Thank you so much, Jim.
Appreciate that. And
that.
I guess I need to tell Derek that both Dr. Hamilton, a friend of the show, and Coach Greg, who's a fitness influencer on YouTube, have said that you can drink as much diet soda as you like. The aspartame is not going to hurt you anything.
There's enough controversial on this channel, Pritchett,
without
you bringing up bro science.
I need to cut back on diet sodas until both Dr. Hamilton and I heard Coach Greg say, no, drink it's fine. It's not going to hurt you. So
is Coach Greg also Steve Gregg?
No, Coach
Greg.
I
don't care. I'm just kidding. Go
Craig
ahead.
Doucette. So Derek, drink more Diet Coke than last time.
Okay, so back to this question of magic. First of all, the guy was just making a point that is often made. Something coming from literally nothing, uncaused out of nothing, is worse than magic. William Lane Craig said this for years, because at least with the magician with pulling a rabbit out of a hat, you've got the magician and the hat to pull the rabbit out of. Here you've got the magician, the hat, and the rabbit all coming into existence uncaused out of nothing. Is worse than magic. That's what William Lane Craig often says. Mm-hmm. But then he goes on to speak about this in derision, saying that all you theists are going to believe in magic. Yes, you do. You do magic. First of all, no, we don't do magic.
Yeah, right? It's forbidden for us to do magic.
It's actually against the rules of the Bible, man.
Yeah,
we're not allowed to do magic. Secondly, here's an interesting thing. Many atheists I know about say any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. You've all heard people say that, right? So the idea is, if it says in the stars, John 3:16 or something, well, we don't know if that's somebody playing a trick with some super advanced technology, because, I mean, we would have thought that cell phones were, magic. Okay, so here's my question. If you can look at almost any phenomenon that happens and disqualify it as evidence for theism because sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, but you think that if there is a God who is definitionally going to be far beyond anything man has come up with, it won't be indistinguishable from magic. In other words, I get why you say it looks like magic or sounds like magic, but here's the thing. You're saying men can do things that are indistinguishable from magic, but God can't do anything that amazing. That's a real problem, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If we should expect that if we could encounter ourselves 1,000 years from now, there would be technology that would blow our minds, and we would say, nope, that's just magic. Well, if you think that humans could do that, if a God did exist, couldn't a God do that? I mean, come on.
And I want to take up for his distinction between the miraculous and magic too, because we've talked about plenty that a lot of miracles tales in the Bible have a quality of just a phenomenon that does have, like an earthquake, for example, that can be explained in physical terms. It just happens to be the highly charged religious context. Okay, so certain things like that you can distinguish, right? And I assume that God had to manipulate physical matter even in the resurrection, because Jesus's body was resurrected physically. We believe in a physical resurrection. Whatever the content of that body being different, still physical, right? So we see these kinds of things in doing. So whether it's earthquake or even something grander like a healing, or even something grander like a resurrection, all of that physical apparatus of the universe is what he created. So him manipulating it is not necessarily, that doesn't follow.
Yes, and this didn't come up in this, but just to help with what's going on here, and that it's not magic, and what's going on is if I take this mouse and I drop it and it falls to the ground, that's the natural course of events.
Yeah.
What people will sometimes say is, well, miracles and stuff and the supernatural, that's an intervention into, no, it's a violation of the laws of physics. No, I like Plantinga's term for it. It's an intervention. He intervenes in nature, but it's not a violation. It's his nature. He can come in if he wants. Right. And there's nothing strange. You wouldn't say that if I held up a mouse like this, and then before it hit the ground, I reached out my hand and caught it, you wouldn't say, oh, well, that was a violation of the laws of nature,
Yeah,
right?
it's more like cheat codes than anything else.
Right, but the point is,
You know?
he's stepping in and preventing things that would naturally happen with other things, his influence on things.
It's his code, so he can insert the cheat code.
Right.
You know,
That's right. Yeah, you really are like a person in a simulation. We don't believe in simulation theory, but you're in a simulation. You're like a character in The Sims or something, and someone claims that years and years and 2,000 years ago in this simulation, someone came back from the dead, and you're like, that I've never seen that. That's impossible. That doesn't happen. That's magic.
But if the creator of the game respawned the character,
right. Could put some code in and do that. And if that can happen in a video game, there's no reason a god couldn't do that in reality.
To his own creation,
right?
His own simulator, so to speak.
Right.
So yeah, and guess what? They wouldn't call that magic.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I make that distinction. But within the simulation, there can be spells and magic and stuff, just like in a video game.
Right. And so we have material things, we have non-material things.
Yeah. It's just a
Big deal.
category error.
Yeah.
But I mean, even so, that was a lot of words to respond to that, because our job is to give clarity.
Yeah.
But I mean, we are giving clarity to sarcasm for sarcasm.
Yeah.
But precision matters. So here we are, doing our weekly thing.
All right, let's go on to the next thing. This is abiogenesis.
So how about, do you believe life came out of non-life?
That is the same question again.
No, it isn't. That is not the same question again. The first question he was clearly thinking of, if he's talking about nothing, the beginning of the universe. He's now talking about abiogenesis, first life. That is not the same question. Although I will say that when I was in Houston and talking with Cy Gart, who is a scientist, and he says about this, that abiogenesis is kind of like a second Big Bang. Because just like there's no satisfying explanation for the Big Bang so far scientifically, because we can't get back further than Planck time or whatever. There's no scientific satisfactory theory for abiogenesis.
Because you have a Big Bang that creates all physical matter.
Mm-hmm.
But the category is living matter, like biological matter. So that's the or living, even if it's not necessarily carbon, it could be any kind of.
And he makes a big deal in the video about how, well, no, those things didn't get planets and stars. That's not like those things came to exist. It was an expansion. Yeah. The Big Bang wasn't an explosion. And that's true. It was supposed to be an expansion.
Right.
And so he's like, so this energy and matter, it's all eternal. It's just been there forever. Yeah. That's a claim, right? That's a claim. I'd like to know how one would defend it, given the impossibility, in my opinion, of a past infinite universe. So, but let's go back to this deal.
Well, we're just in one.
And the answer is, again, we don't know, but we have a pretty good idea, because we have working models for abiogenesis that we are currently trying to expound upon. The Miller and Urey experiments were years and years and years ago, and we have certainly expanded since then. But, this is just rephrasing the same question again, but making it just a slightly bit more specific.
No, it isn't.
How could something not living create life?
So the thing is that the something non-living does not necessarily create life. But based on the models that are presented in abiogenesis, there are ways in which you can spark, at the very least, base amino acids, bits of RNA, stuff like that, from non-living matter, or at least non-living matter as we understand it. But again, this is a very layman's understanding of what abiogenesis is. But again, how? We don't know, but we have a pretty okay model that is working somewhat. It is not a theory as of yet, but it is certainly a model that we are currently working on constructing. But, even if we don't, the honest answer is, I don't know.
Well, and then just say that, because when I'm hearing it, like, so James Tour, Cy Gart, people like that are going to say, no, they're not. You're just hearing that from other atheists and people like that. They're not close to figuring that. And the impression we gave, that was just given, is it's not just yet a theory or anything, but we're getting there. According to the experts I know about, they're saying no.
We're
In
nowhere.
fact, Cy Gard, I even asked him when he was talking about this. He was really passionate. And I said, "Are you telling me that? Are you telling me that that you think it's just really unlikely?" And he said, "No, I'm telling you it's impossible." That's what he said.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like
Now, I'm not going to say that. I'm not a scientist. I don't know, but I'm telling you that's what the experts I know are saying.
Abiogenesis is like consciousness. People have put out ideas of what they think it could be, and people are
Mhm.
like, "Nah, they're working on. They're work. No, just same with consciousness. You're nowhere. You're nowhere. You're nowhere. You. Some people said something about it. That's and have, if I play with Lego,
Yeah.
right? But I never finish the thing because I just have them spread out in front of me. I have, and I just stare at the table. I'm nowhere.
Yeah.
I have Legos.
Yeah.
And I have an idea that I could build it into something, but if I'm just sitting there staring at it, and that's these models, they're staring at it.
Joshua Benjamin says, "You're redefining magic. So let's do that. Any non-logical event beyond the realm of physics would be considered magic." Now, unfortunately, Joshua, I understand you're using terms colloquially, but when you say non-logical, what is illogical about this? Like, you need to show me something that's an inconsistency.
Now,
and
wait a minute
incoherency.
now. I mean, non-logical doesn't necessarily mean it has to be illogical. It's just non-logical.
What's non-logical about it?
It's like, yeah, that's what is non-logical about it. That's a question.
You need to either say it's logical or illogical. To
Well,
say
you
it's
can say it's-
illogical, what does that mean?
Well, it just means it's non-logical, but I mean, that's like saying something is either rational or irrational. Well, it could just be non-rational.
It could be irrational, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's
So
all it means.
you're defending them here.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
Any non-logical event beyond the realm of physics would be considered magic. Well, I don't. I still. Don't
I
know
have
what you
no
mean.
logical reasons to like the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Yes, you do.
Why?
There's all kinds of reasons that have to do with your
Reasons,
social connections.
They don't have to
things
be
like that.
logical. They don't have to, and they certainly don't have to be rational.
Well, in any case, I don't know what Joshua Benjamin means by non-logical.
I think but I don't have any. I don't have any illogical reasons to be a fan. Either.
Yeah, but I deal with people like this all the time. Tell me if I'm right, Joshua. I think he means illogical. And if he means illogical, show me a logical contradiction or something. But if you just mean non-logical, I still don't know what you mean. So you need to tell me. Pritchett knows what you mean, but I don't know what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, if he means illogical, then I don't see why.
Right.
If he means logical, I actually don't. No, I don't have really a problem there either. But non-logical, yeah, it's like saying non-rational. Like my liking the Razorbacks is a thing.
Yeah. You think he's just saying this is. Well, no, he's not, because your reason or logic about certain things is like the way you arrived at it, and you're saying I didn't do that, I just did it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but he's saying the event is non-logical event beyond the realm of physics,
like the occurrence of like the Big Bang or something.
I'm just reading. I mean, but I don't know. Who knows? All right, let's move on here. Mr. Green says, thank you for that super chat. Says Pritchett and Braxton are magic. Case closed.
Okay, I'll take it.
Thank you. All right, where are we at now? What else was said there? Was there? Oh, abiogenesis. All right, there's only one more.
Yeah, I'm confused about what he means there about non-logical.
I don't
have a problem with the categories. What I'm saying, I just I don't know what he means. Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of okay with it.
So Kevin O'Connor asks a good question. We like Kevin here. How would you define the difference between magic in a modern sense versus in the Old Testament sense? Honest question, not a trap. So you did have like magicians like in Egypt who were doing things that we would think of as magical. But primarily the difference is magic is an occult practice that is not in line with what God wants, and we think that it has to do with the work of demons, frankly. Yeah. And God, on the other hand, simply intervenes in his own creation. That's nothing magical. That's just, if there is a God, the notion that he could do stuff, it shouldn't be that surprising, and it shouldn't be considered magic. So
now, okay, so there is phenomenon that you could consider like God doing, like owning the magicians, because a lot of people think, with the glow coming off of Moses as he descended looked like a golden calf almost, and that's God trolling. You know what I mean? So I mean, but it's I don't know.
Okay, so floating would be a non-logical event beyond the realm of physics that is considered magic. You need examples. I get it. Okay, great. Thank you for the example. So if I were to levitate in front of you right now, would you conclude that the supernatural is real and all that stuff? Or would you say what every atheist I've ever encountered on the internet says about this, which is, I believe that happened as best I can tell, but I have no idea how, and maybe we'll find out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what I've heard atheists say.
But
because any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, right? But what God does, that can't be that amazing. But,
yeah, but
man-made stuff.
But what if your little levitation trick involved no technology? That's the thing.
How would he ever know that? We're talking about what he can know epistemologically.
Yeah, but let's just assume that it didn't.
Okay, then it's real.
Does that put it in? Now there can be a logical explanation for why you're floating.
Yeah, God might have made me float.
Right.
Which wouldn't be magic
but
either.
He's trying to say,
God
but what he's
in.
trying to say, the floating itself is
magical.
Not that an explanation for it is non-logical, but that you're floating is non-logical.
How? How is that?
Well,
you have to understand the cause before you can say whether it's non-logical.
Well, if you were floating, okay, you have no explanation for it. There may be a rational or logical explanation for it, or it just might be a thing. And if that's the case, it might just be a thing that there's a universe as well without a God that created it.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's Kevin says, do you say that magic equals, just take out the word supernatural. I'm going to go with Pritchett on this, ditching the word supernatural. An intervention into events caused by Satan or a demon, while intervention events caused by God are not magic. Yes, that's exactly right, but not for the reason that atheists want me to say that's exactly right. Like, basically, it's the same thing, so it is magic. No, it's because magic refers to something very specific that has to do with the occult, and that's what we're trying to tease out here.
Right. It's not,
and we don't believe in the kind of magic as one might think of, where it's just no, there's no demons, there's no angels, there's no God, there's no nothing like that going on. When I say these words, it has a universal power to accomplish this other thing. That kind of magic doesn't exist, in my opinion. If something happens immaterial like that, it's happening because of something going on, like demonic stuff or God or whatever.
Right, but if you start defining magic in these ways, then all of a sudden they're saying, well, okay, but we could take God, and so calling that magic too as any sort of unexplained phenomenon is fine. It's just we're redefining the word now.
How do you know God didn't do that and it was an occult thing? Because that's what magic is referring to.
Okay, well, not all atheists don't believe in reject the occult. This is not a case of Christians want to take. See, what I think they want to do is they want to take, okay, let's just take strange phenomenon and throw it in a bucket. But what you Christians want to do is you want to take the God strange phenomenon back out of that bucket and put it into a different bucket.
That.
Yeah,
and I get that.
Yeah, but definitionally they don't belong in the same.
Yeah, it's just that we're just saying be specific with your words. Oh, okay. So actually, Kevin, this is a long-standing thing with me and Pritchett and every other apologist on the planet. There are a lot of people. Who don't want to use the term supernatural because it causes an unnecessary distinction regarding what actually exists in reality. Like the natural world is reality, and
more of a separation or a bifurcation, like a complete bifurcation.
It's just that these are all things that happen in our universe, and in that sense, they're all real. So natural, supernatural, real.
The divine, the spiritual realm, the demonic world, all of that is supervened.
But even though Pritchett, I know, doesn't like this, and Cameron Bertuzzi disagrees with me on this, a lot of people do. But the fact is, supernatural is so embedded in the way we talk about things that I personally just don't have a problem with saying supernatural, immaterial stuff like God and demons, supernatural stuff.
Yeah, but that
just means beyond natural.
To suggest we're, that there's a permanence to post-enlightenment categories that we're stuck.
Well,
with
that's
and
true.
Forced with forever, even after hundreds of years.
But here, let me go etymological with you. Super from supra, which means more than, and natural means natural, so it's more than just the natural. So it's beyond natural. That's all we're saying. But we're saying the physical stuff that you're dealing with. We're not talking about that.
No, we know what you're talking about.
I'm
just saying, it just reinforces a bifurcation.
Yeah, Danny says, I just say natural and non-natural, but he also said something a minute ago up here. He says, magic is not a term I ever really see in the philosophical literature that's used seriously. So that's good.
No, it's rhetoric, and it was rhetoric when William Lane Craig used it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, you're saying, it's fine, everybody does it.
Right. I don't begrudge the atheist for doing it.
I begrudge an atheist begrudging a Christian for doing it.
Huh?
I said
he's
doing
getting
it
on
to the guy. Yeah. He's getting on to that guy for saying it was worse than that. Oh yeah, you're saying that guy was the first abuser.
That's right.
Suris is firing back.
Right.
So we need to back off and be like, fair fight.
We need to clarify was what we're doing.
Are we?
Yeah, probably not. But we're still going round and round about non-logical stuff.
We went and talked about that forever. All right, let's go on to the next thing. Consciousness.
You believe consciousness came out of something that didn't have any conscious?
No. So consciousness is an emergent property of the brain. The brain evolving, or the brain being a machine that has evolved over time to have what we would define as consciousness, is not something magical. I think that people actually put a lot more stock into the idea of what consciousness is than they really need to.
Not demonstrated. You're nowhere on that issue.
Right.
Nowhere on it. Nowhere. No.
You think that it's not that mysterious, or people make
and Braxton's going to line up a whole bucket full of atheists who's going to agree with us that you're nowhere, coming this Sunday at 9 a.m.
Yeah. But Philip Goff says about this that we, despite our scientific advancements, we don't even have the beginnings of an understanding. He says we don't even have the beginnings of an understanding of how complicated electrochemical signaling.
No, it's just this thing your brain does.
Could result in the inner subjective world of color, taste, sounds that we all experience each moment of waking life. Alex, but hey, here's a good naturalist for you. I mean, this is Alex Rosenberg from the Reality. He came up last week. I remember Danny said something about this guy's consistent, but he does have some weird views. He says, quote, the illusion that there is someone inside that has thoughts about stuff is certainly as old as the illusion that there are thoughts about stuff. They almost certainly evolve together as a package deal, but if the physical facts fix all the facts, there can't be a me or you inside our bodies with a special point of view. When it fixed the facts, physics ruled out the existence of selves, souls, persons, or non-physical minds inhabiting our bodies. And then he later says, our brain navigates us through life very nicely, thank you, without ever thinking about anything. Now, I want you to think about what is being said.
Yeah, well, let's first, before you explain what's being said, let's first go back to the first clip that we played. Here you are. This is how you end up with people who say nothing is a thing. Because you have this package deal that Rosenberg's talking about, right? And he's like, but it's not there. It's, this thing is a nothing, but it's a thing.
Yeah. Right.
And then they talk. That's why they don't. It's more words that way.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's see. And let's see. Philip Goff also says, when it comes to consciousness, the thing we're trying to explain is unobservable. And that is utterly unique among the scientific problems. So we've got a panpsychist on one side who's saying, maybe the way to solve this is everything's conscious. But we really don't even have a beginnings of how to understand how electrochemical signaling gives rise to all this stuff. But maybe the solution is everything's conscious, like every blade of grass, every slice of cheesecake, every hair, to one degree or another. We're not saying that cheesecake is thinking about something, but maybe there's consciousness baked in and baked. And then when you put it together like us, obviously that's the reason we're conscious is everybody's conscious. Yeah. And then you've got the atheist saying, well, no, the way you solve the hard problem is you say, no, I mean, nothing's conscious. And the reason we can answer this is just nothing's conscious. conscious, and neither are you, at least not the way that you think you are.
Yeah.
Right?
See, it's so problematic to have something that's unobservable and you can't call it nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
Rosenberg tries to say a something is a nothing, and so nothings have some things. But this guy can't, because it's like there's a thing there and we can't see it.
Right. And Thomas Nagel.
And we can't trace it to things we can. That's a problem.
Nagel, here's what someone
That's
writes.
a step closer to theism. If
Amen.
You, yeah.
Amen. But then you just don't understand theism if you're going to. That's what he's going to say. But there's a New Yorker article here written by Richard Brody, and it's about Thomas Nagel. And it says Nagel affirms that he's an atheist, but he also asserts that there's an entirely different realm of non-physical stuff that exists. You believe in magic, Nagel. Non-physical stuff that exists, namely mental stuff. The vast flow of perceptions, ideas, and emotions that arise in each human mind is something that, in his view, actually exists as something other than merely the electrofirings in the brain that give rise to them, and exist as surely as a brain, a chair, an atom, or a gamma ray. And then, of course, you got Roger Penrose when he was on Unbelievable with William Lane Craig, and he's like, this is a great mystery. Consciousness is a great mystery because I don't think it's in this glass of water here, but he's like, I don't think it's just that we need more complicated computations. I don't think that's the solution. In other words, he's saying, like, it's not like if you just keep working on Alexa and keep making Alexa more and more complex, that eventually Alexa will have a conscious experience. Now, Richard Dawkins thinks so, but Sir Roger Penrose, mathematician and physicist, says, no, that's not.
Keep intelligently designing Alexas, while insisting there's nothing like that anywhere else, and there never has been.
Right.
I love it.
A little leaven leavens the lump of cheesecake. That's it. Okay, so yeah, this business about consciousness is not something that is too much is being made about. And why really would we want to? I mean, I'm assuming you don't want us to stop probing and asking questions about like that, right? We should pursue that. And we don't want to close off potential avenues to the right answer, right? We don't want to be narrow-minded. So consciousness is a big mystery. And it's understood by...
Well, Mr. Alex Rosenberg, his advice, give up. Yeah.
Okay, so...
I mean, theists continue after chasing down science, even though God did it. They don't give up, but the give up seems to be all on one side of this, right? Just give up.
Yeah. And Christoph Keating says, is data conscious? Now, I don't know if you mean is like data conscious, like data, like raw data.
He capitalized
But I think he means commander data.
Commander data.
And commander data is basically what commander data is he's an archetype stuffed into Star Trek to make for good storytelling. He's the Pinocchio archetype. He's the not human thing that wants to be a real boy. That's commander data. Mm-hmm. And I'll just say this. When you think about these certain science fictional characters, you think that you connect with them in a way you don't connect with your Alexa and things. You connect with them and you think you're connecting with C-3PO. You're connecting consciously with C-3PO. You're not connecting with C-3PO because you're connecting with Anthony Daniels, the man inside the suit of C-3PO. Right. Because a real robot isn't conscious like that.
And that is why people think that because you're doing a representation of an idea, that the idea itself could ever happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the only reason why, because these ideas are being represented by other conscious beings. And you're thinking that you can go from that to an actual data that was built.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so. What do you think?
I don't know. Say it again.
Do you think that there could ever be a built data instead of like an actual conscious machine?
No, I think what you can get is what we probably will get in the next 50 or 100 years is we'll probably have an artificial intelligence that is indistinguishable from talking to a human being.
Yes.
At least most of the time.
I'm fine with that. That doesn't mean
it's conscious.
It's achieved consciousness.
The problem then will be it will claim to be conscious, or it might claim to be conscious, and then we're going to have all the leftists arguing for AI rights and stuff. That's basically what's going to happen. And then the riots are going to get real interesting because you're going to have robots in it, and it's going to get real dystopian real fast.
So Terminator, Matrix, all those futures.
Actually, no, that's never going to happen because they're not conscious. That's the reason it won't happen.
Right.
There was one quote from a brain scientist who was like, no, I don't worry about that. For the same reason, I don't worry that my shoes are going to come alive and start walking all over me in the middle of the night. He's like, because they don't have the capacity to become conscious. Is that an opinion? Yeah, but I like to look at what the experts' opinions are. All right, here's honestly atheist asking, do you believe it is possible for us to properly imagine or conceptualize nothing? I'm tempted to say no here. Is imagining a formless black void the same as imagining nothing? No. I do think it's difficult.
That's precisely the point why we can conceptualize it without imagining it, because you're imagining.
If you imagine
a
anything,
void.
That's not it.
Right.
Because it's just nothing.
Right.
And I get this because
that's how you should conceptualize it.
Because like with God the Father, sans creation, spaceless, timeless, not material.
Personal.
Well, just add time to it so that we could imagine in space. All right, just those two. Let's imagine we could walk around sans the physical universe, which just doesn't make sense. You can't do that. But let's say you were outside the physical universe and you could observe God. I don't know that you'd see anything really. But when we think about it, when we pray to God, for example, most of us imagine something, right? You either imagine Jesus, because we can latch onto that, and probably one of the reasons we were given, the incarnation. But two, you also have, like with me, sometimes I may just imagine like a white light in a void of space or something. Like but I think most of us do conceptualize something when we're talking to God. But the fact that you conceptualize something doesn't mean that's what God is. It's just that that's how we think.
Yeah, and notice that the image was visual, black void. That's a visual image. That's why that doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like when I'm explaining spaceless, timeless, non-material to like church people, I'll say, well, what would a spaceless and timeless state of affairs be like? I don't know. Neither does anybody else.
Right.
But because we have no
frame of reference.
Yeah, it's not our universe.
But we do have a
temporal.
concept of it.
Yeah, we can say, take away everything, take away space. Take away all of it.
And that black void.
And that black void over there.
Gone.
And you got nothing.
Yep.
Nothing is no properties, no potentialities, no powers, no possibilities. So there's that. I didn't really get a whole lot of other questions today, honestly. If you asked one and I missed it, I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah.
I don't see any other questions as but I did have I think we're at the end of those. We don't have anything there.
Okay.
I've messed up the picture somehow. Why did you?
What picture?
There it is.
What are you messing up?
Okay. Don't worry about it. It's fixed.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions? We're going to answer those. Yeah. This is a good point. A fish doesn't have a concept of water until you pull the fish out of the water and then it realizes.
Ooh, Skeptical Thinker has a question. Go back up.
How does one distinguish between conscious meat machines and apparently conscious non-meat machines? Yeah, well, because I don't think there's such a thing as conscious meat machines.
But Chris Day does, so he could answer that.
Yeah,
question.
But I'm not a physicist.
Yeah, we reject the premise that human beings are merely conscious meat machines.
We are a meat machine and also
right.
an immaterial soul.
Right.
And the part of us that is conscious is because of that immaterial soul.
Yeah. But how could you distinguish? So even if he granted that, because I want to put it in snarky terms.
I have no reason to believe that a robot has, or that God would want to give a robot an immaterial conscious soul.
Okay,
because that's not his creation.
That's your answer to the question he should have asked, but wanted to be like me and put it in the snarkiest way possible.
Yeah.
So you have no reason. So it's not that they couldn't have a soul; it's that you have no reason to think that God would want to give a non-meat machine a soul.
Mm-hmm. And we've never been told that, so it would just be a guess.
Yeah.
Candidate for best looking Christian apologist, torn between Bobby Conway and Cameron. You've messed up. Both very attractive men, but the real battle is between Jonathan Pritchett and John McCrae. So figure that out.
I don't think so.
Actually, no. We've got some female Christian apologists that are way better looking than any male apologist.
Say, hold up for a second. Maybe it means male apologist.
So we disagree with the premise. We can include women here, and because now I can't comment on the attractiveness of women, and you shouldn't either. Let's just say, enough said.
So we're going to deny objective beauty standards?
No, we're going to save our subjective opinions about objective beauty.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good, yeah. I don't know. I could do, any number of things with that, but I would say that no, because the real trouble is ranking. If we were to rank female Christian apologists, that's asking for trouble.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
That would be entertaining to watch someone else do it, but I'm not gonna
Rich
do it.
O'Cat asks a good question. We get questions like this one occasionally, and that is, what do you guys think of video games or other media with magic and spells in it? Bit off topic, but the cheat codes made me think. Doing a study on Satanism and the pastor is against. And then I think you got cut off. And I've always taken it as a liberty issue with Christians, and I suspect you were right to do so. There's nothing wrong with including elements like that in a compelling story, especially in like, aren't I right? Like, hasn't it been said that Harry Potter is like has Christian imagery and stuff all through it? So it's a storytelling device there.
Narnia, Lord of the Rings.
Plus, you've got the Pritchett approach, which is whether you think Christmas items have pagan roots or not. Inspiring Philosophy says no, but Jonathan's like, well, if they did, it just means we won.
Yeah.
Right? And now we get to mock paganism
Yeah,
one night a year by dressing up however
but
we
you
want.
have spell casting and witchcraft, or that kind of thing. Magic.
Yeah, God includes it in His story.
The Bible has ghost stories,
Mhm.
in a sense. This is ours. I've been trying to make this point for a long time, and no one cares. But horror genre, that's ours. You take Jewish apocalyptic writing and remix it with medieval Gothic, which is also church.
Mhm.
That's horror. That's ours.
Yeah,
So go make horror
and it's the
flicks.
best kind.
Yeah, and it's the best kind.
Daniel Apologetics says couch.
We own horror.
How you gonna work when you ask him where the couch is?
Horror movies also, except for like Scream and stuff, presuppose the supernatural. We need to embrace those kind of stories if you're going to talk about natural and supernatural and magic even, or, demons and that's our stuff. That's our sandbox. Go play in it, movie makers. Go make horror flicks. And please don't make them like the pure flicks kind of movies. Make them good.
Let's see. Here we go. Danny says, magic in games and like Harry Potter world just seems to either be understood as reality with different laws of nature. Harry Potter magic has different laws governing the natural kinds. I wouldn't know, Danny. I'm a muggle, and muggles have only seen the movies and not read the books. But thank you for that. The point here is storytelling and stuff like that is fine. Where you need to get worried, I would say, as a Christian, obviously non-Christians might not think this way, but as a Christian, I want to encourage you that if you become too obsessed with the idea of magic, I met with a guy whose life had been destroyed in Terre Haute, Indiana, who got into stories that had that stuff in it, but he like gave himself over to it. Like he started like trying to actively find Wicca groups and things like that. So if you're becoming obsessed, or even just with the demonic, if you're becoming too overly interested in it, be careful with that, because that
yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of fire if the shift in a worldview occurs, not I'm entertained by this, right? Because a lot of people find it entertaining. I know tons of Christians that play D&D, even though poor Braxton was not allowed to growing up. But
for this very reason.
Why are you susceptible? You think you're not susceptible to that kind of worldview shit?
No, I wish I had played Dungeons.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. There's probably people out there that are bothered. It's a Christian liberty issue. Actually, I'm not. I'm glad I didn't, because I wasted enough time in my youth.
I think you wasted enough time in adulthood playing PUBG with Chris Date.
Oh no, that's good times. We're talking theology, man. There's nothing like talking theology with a couple of dudes
running around armed to the
and blowing
teeth
away
with
the enemy to the
machine
glory
guns
of God.
shooting-
On a video game.
Right. Yeah, on a video game. Instead of using imagination sitting around a table with paper, dice and pens and pencils. Actually, pencils for the most part. Tabletop. I don't know.
Okay, this is
tabletop role-playing games are fun.
This is a good question now, Pritchett. Hey guys, totally off topic, but was Jonah killed and then resurrected? Now I actually love this question. First of all, I don't really know. And the reason this comes up is because if you read what it says about Jonah, it's death language, right?
Yeah, Sheol and all
Right,
that.
right. So the question is that just poetic way of saying it, or did he really die and then God resurrected him?
Yes, because of course, that's what Jesus pointed to, and
Yeah, Jesus points to that and says, "I'll give you no sign. It's a foolish generation searches for signs, but I'll give you one sign, the sign of Jonah." And he was, and then he dies and resurrects, and he had pointed to Jonah as the foil for that or whatever. So
yeah, do you want Jesus to exegete the Old Testament for you?
So
That's the question you ask yourself.
If he resurrected Jonah, then all this business about it seeming implausible goes away. But then, of course, again, if miraculous stuff seeming implausible bothers you to the point that you can't accept
I get why there's
Yeah.
people who think that he didn't, but I think I'm going more towards the. That doesn't take away the overstating of the language anyway, if he literally died or not. But I lean that way.
I think I do too. Great question.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's been about an hour. Should we end early today and move over to the Patreon live stream? And on the Patreon live stream today, Pritchett, we're going to talk about something fascinating. You know what it is?
No.
I don't either, but it's going to be awesome. And you can jump on and be with us if you want to. And listen, if you want to become a patron, there's a link below. You can just click that link in the description. It will take you over there. Look at the posts once you become a patron. Look at posts, and it'll be there. Now, it's not there yet. Give me a few minutes to set it up, and it'll be there. So let's say it's 2 o'clock now. Let's say 2:15, and we're going to start the show. Had a great time with you all and loved it. Pritchett, why don't you have anything you want to say on the way out?
Thanks for coming.
That's it. That's all you can say to these fine folks. Thanks for your super chats.
I
Don't
told
forget
you,
to
man,
like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video. Folks,
Sluggish today.
I've had multiple emails and communications from subscribers to this channel telling me that they feel like YouTube is throttling our content. I don't know why, but we are not showing up in subscribers' feeds or whatever, and this is concerning me. So you can help me out the old-fashioned way by just sharing it. Share the videos. And any video from Trinity Radio that is important to you.
When they click the notification bell?
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm. According to them. Why would YouTube, the well-known Christian platform, want to get rid of me and the Pritch?
Who knows?
Maybe we'll talk about it next time on Trinity Radio. Thank you, Rich O'Cat.